and a phone number where he might be contacted, and we agreed upon a date and a time for an appointment. The address he gave me was a vacant house, and the phone number provided was a disconnected number. And I have never been able to find him since. I have no idea where he is at or the pictures. But I know that this event occurred, and I've been an investigator for 10 of the last 18 years that I've been a policeman, and I know that my powers of perception and reason are working very well, and that I didn't imagine what happened to me.
Another unusual fact surfaced when Gail Giorgio began researching Elvis Presley's involvement with law enforcement.
He had always had a love of law enforcement. He had he was a bonded deputy with the Memphis Police. He was connected with, what was it, the Denver Police in Colorado.
Denver Police, yes.
He was connected
California.
with the LAPD. So his interest in law and order went back many, many years. And in fact, when he was voted the most outstanding young man in America by the JCs, it was for his work also in drug enforcement. So he was sincere in wanting a federal badge. And he wrote Nixon a letter on the airplane, American Airlines, and offered his services as an agent at large. He said basically because of who he was, he could probably get to people that other people could not get to.
Elvis wrote this letter to then-President Richard Nixon while on an airplane headed for Washington, D.C. Dear Mr. President, first, I would like to introduce myself. I am Elvis Presley and admire you and have great respect for your office. I talked to Vice President Agnew in Palm Springs 1 week ago and expressed my concerns for our country. The drug culture, the hippie elements, the SDS, Black Panther, etc., do not consider me as their enemy, or as they call it, the establishment. I call it America, and I love it. Sir, I can and will be of any service that I can to help the country out. I have no concerns or motives other than helping the country out. So I wish not to be given a title or an appointed position. I can and will do more good if I remain a federal agent at large. I will help, but by doing it my way, through my communications with people of all ages. First and foremost, I am an entertainer, but all I need is the federal credentials. I am on the plane with Senator George Murphy, and we have been discussing the problems that our country is faced with. So I am staying at the Washington Hotel, room 505, 506, 507. I am registered under the name of John Burroughs. I will be here for as long as it takes to get the credentials of a federal agent.
I was told that if I checked this letter against Elvis's death certificate, which obviously had to be filled out, quote, after he died, I would find out that Elvis Presley filled out and signed his own death certificate. Now, this is incredible information. I mean, this is mind-boggling when you think about it. It's never been revealed, and I can tell you that I was told by a member of the family to have it checked out.
Gail took the death certificate and items written by Elvis to Paul Wiest, a certified graphologist who specializes in investigating forgeries.
I was asked by Gail Giorgio to examine some handwriting of Elvis Presley. She supplied me with a copy of a letter written to President Nixon in 1970 and the death certificate or medical examiner's report at the time of his reported death. I examined these two documents and compared them by measuring the slant of the handwriting, the spacing between the letters, spacing between the words, the size of the letters, and the individual letter formations. I also made transparent photocopies where I could lay one photocopy, a transparent copy on top of another one for close comparison. I examined these under transmitted light with a light table. The result of my examination was that I found that the slant matched on both documents, that the size of the letters was the same, the spacing between the letters was the same, and many of the individual letter forms were the same. My conclusions after this exhaustive examination was, in my professional opinion as a document examiner, that the same person who wrote the letter to President Nixon also wrote the Elvis Presley death certificate or medical examiner's report of Elvis Presley's death.
But the question still remains, why would Elvis Presley fake his own death? Was it simply so he could retire from the limelight? Perhaps, as many believe, was it because of Elvis's involvement in state and federal affairs, such as the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency? It was in 1970 when Elvis received a federal badge from President Richard M. Nixon.
We know that it's not a token badge because, well, there was an article by Jack Anderson in the Washington Post that told about Elvis being sworn in as a federal agent. I think Elvis purposely low-keyed his role as a government agent for the effectiveness in acting in an undercover role.
Maria Columbus was also researching Elvis's life.
I had toured Graceland, and I had noticed in the trophy room a certificate of appreciation from the government to Elvis. And so I wrote to that particular bureau and asked why was this given to Elvis. This was in 1982. And I received an answer from a Mr. Pritchett, saying that Elvis had provided cover for an undercover narcotics agent from the years of 1974 through 1976. The man was a musician and posed as part of his band.
Elvis is connected also with President Carter. We know by several biographies that 2 weeks, I believe, prior to August the 16th, the FBI arranged a telephone call with Elvis and President Carter. Not only do we have Elvis connected with 2 United States presidents, I don't know about you, but I don't think I'd get an appointment that easy. And I think if I wanted to call, say, President Carter, I couldn't really call the FBI and say, would you put a call through? This is the kind of clout Elvis had, but his clout run in a very official way. He was a federal agent. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I have read 663 FBI files on Elvis Presley, and his life was in danger. It's clear by the FBI reports. There were serious assassination threats made against him.
Recently, Gail Giorgio and myself viewed FBI documents obtained by Gail. In these documents, Elvis was the subject of numerous death threats. Some of these threats came from well-known underground figures, and it was also common knowledge that an undercover agent traveled as one of Elvis's band members. It's because of this affiliation that Elvis had with government agencies, because of these death threats, and the fact that this agent traveled as one of his band members, that lead us to believe that the strong possibility exists he may very well be a part of the witness protection program. But being a member of the law enforcement community myself, this prevents me from ever undermining any efforts of another law enforcement agency. And it also prevents me from telling you the answer to this question, which I know is the truth.